Now that we've begun to write more complex SQL code, we can consider ways that we can actually improve our efficiency. If we've got a nested statement with many lines of code in it, we don't want to have to write that entire statement every time we want to use it. And this is where views come in. Views could be considered as being a way to save a specific query within the MySQL database. When you create a view, you essentially just save the SQL command, not the result. So if you change the data in the table that the view actually refers to, those changes are seen when you next run the view. So we could create a view to return all of the data from the staff table, which is just a matter of typing create view and then the name of the view. So we're just going to call the staff table, and then the word as, and then you actually just type the SQL that you want to be considered as part of that view. So we're just going to type select all from staff. This is going to create the view for us when we run this code. And so what we can do now is just delete this. And we've got this staff table, which contains all of the data which would be returned when you perform the action select all from staff. So we can use this to select all from staff table. Now this example is not the best because staff table is longer than the word staff, and so this is actually additional SQL code to write. But you can imagine where you have many different lines of SQL within one statement. A single line like this can be very efficient. And you can also use this just like you would any other table, where manager number equals 6839. You could decide that when you wanted to actually create your view of this table, that you didn't want the salary or the commission columns to be available to the person who's going to run this view. And so when you're actually creating the view, you can omit certain details, just like you would with any other SQL query. And the way you do that is to just type alter view and then the name of the view, which in our case is staff table, as, and then you just write the actual SQL that you want to be in the staff table again. So this is essentially like rewriting the actual view from scratch. So now that we've altered our staff table view, when we next run the view, we're actually going to perform this entire command. So now you can see that it's starting to become more efficient. So if we just select everything from there, we've actually performed that entire command with much less SQL. If you wanted to, you could use views in combination with the user permissions by granting specific access or revoking access to other tables to actually control what individual users are able to see in your database. It's very rare that any user is actually going to need to be able to see everything within the entire database at once, but they may need snapshots of the information. And so you can use views to actually limit and restrict the views that are available to certain people. And because you can use views in the exact same way as you would use select statements in this example, you can build on individual views to create extremely complex statements which you'll be able to access in the future without too much trouble. And because the view is actually saved in the database itself, rather than saving the SQL code within a PHP file, for example, you're able to access the exact same query from any location. You're not restricted to being able to access the data from your website, which can be a problem if you include SQL codes within your PHP or Ruby files.